Hi friends, welcome back. I am Hope and I help you cut through fitness and wellness myths so you can make confident, evidence-based choices about your body and movement. So we have already spoken about diastasis recti in terms of pain and whether it causes pain. Today I want to talk about whether exercise can treat it. So let's break down the research. As a recap, diastasis recti is a widening of the linea alba. That is the connective tissue between the two bellies of the rectus abdominis. It is common after pregnancy. Very common actually. Probably everybody experiences it at some point. And the way this adaptation is described is normally your abs have separated, which can create the image of a gaping hole or maybe a structural defect. But that is not actually what the science describes. Diastasis recti is a positional change in connective tissue. It is common in postpartum bodies. It's a normal adaptation to mechanical stresses of pregnancy. And crucially, its width by itself does not reliably predict pain, dysfunction, or the inability to function. So what does the research say about exercise and diastasis recti? The most comprehensive summary we have is a systematic review with meta-analysis. And the key points that they found was that there is limited and inconsistent evidence that specific abdominal or pelvic floor exercise actually reduce the interrecti distance. Some programs changed the IRD modestly, others didn't. So overall, the data is not strong enough to say that exercise does treat DRA. The quality of evidence overall was low to moderate. So this means we cannot confidently say that any exercise fixes DRA in most people. Now that is not the same as saying exercise is useless. It just isn't reliably changing the measurement we call IRD in the way many people hope. In 2023, the same research group published a randomized controlled trial with a key insight. Curl-up exercises improve abdominal muscle strength without worsening IRD. Now this is interesting because this is often an exercise that postpartum folk are told to avoid. So it tells us that a curl-up exercise is safe and it is designed to strengthen your abdominal muscles. Those exercises resulted in increased strength, but crucially, they did not make the separation worse. And it did not shrink the separation either. So what's the takeaway? You can get stronger through targeted exercise, but you will not necessarily change the measurement of the linea alba's width. And importantly, it didn't make it any worse. Now, this is a big deal because it counters the fear that certain movements automatically damage or open up your core. So if it doesn't change diastasis recti, what does the exercise actually do? Well, it is still strengthening your abdominal and trunk muscles. It is supporting functional movement in daily life. It is improving your confidence and movement quality. In some cases, it can reduce pain, and it is improving your motor control and coordination. It supports function. So many people fixate on the gap as if it is something that you need to fix. But what really matters for postpartum life is, are you stable when you lift your child or your toddler? Can you brace comfortably for daily tasks? Are you able to breathe, bend, and move without pain? Those outcomes do respond to thoughtful training, even if the separation of a diastasis recti doesn't change. Now, as I explained in a previous video, the research shows us that broader IRD alone does not reliably predict pain, dysfunction, low back pain, or pelvic floor problems. Most postpartum folk have an increased IRD with no symptoms whatsoever, and this is supported by multiple observational and functional studies, including work highlighted in systematic reviews of diastasis and musculoskeletal outcomes. That means just because your linea alba is wider doesn't mean you have a dysfunction, and just because exercise doesn't shrink it dramatically, it doesn't mean you're failing or that your core isn't strong. Your body is adapting. It is not broken. So practically, what does this mean? Well, exercise is still beneficial. You can and should do movements that improve your strength, stability, and confidence as long as you feel comfortable doing them. There is no magic exercise that fixes the gap. So no specific drill reliably collapses connective tissue, not in the research that we have to date. And what matters more anyway is function and comfort. So focus on breathing, your stability, controlled movements, progressive resistance, and functional patterns. Pushing, pulling, lunging, hinging. These are going to help you move well, even with diastasis recti. And of course, if a movement feels uncomfortable or painful, then modify it. There is a modification for any exercise. Now, discomfort doesn't automatically mean damaged, but it can mean you need a different cue, you need a different regression, you need a different range. Listen to your body. So to summarize, diastasis recti is common postpartum. It's an adaptation, not a pathology. Exercise programs have not been shown to reliably treat IRD. In other words, they don't reduce the gap. Strength training improves abdominal muscle function and doesn't worsen a separation. No specific exercise has been proven as a cure. Please avoid anybody who tells you otherwise. And functional outcomes, strength, stability, comfort do improve with training. Honestly, it's maybe not even helpful to know whether you have diastasis recti or not, because what the research shows for most of us, it's not likely to cause us any issues. Your body just doesn't reduce connective tissue width on command, and the research shows that. Movement in this phase of life is about support, strength, and function, not an arbitrary measurement on your stomach. Diastasis recti might be visible on ultrasound, but that is not the whole story of your strength or your capabilities. It is not an indication of that. Please remember, it is your body, your choice. I'm just here to help you make informed ones.